Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 26.5.1 to the public. iOS 26.5.1 is available around the world at the same time for everyone on all iPhone 17 series devices and iPhone Air. Sadly, there is no other supported devices. Despite them actually showing downloads on the developer website, there's no available downloads for other devices outside of the iPhone 17 series. However, if you're running iOS 26.6 betas, you won't have an update also as you're on a newer version, and you would need a computer in order to downgrade if you're on a supported device. Now, if you're wondering how to install the update and you do have a supported device, you can find that by going into Settings, General, and then Software Update. If you're not seeing it here, you can go back into Software Update or pull down to refresh, and you should see it here. Now, this came in at a very large 13 gigabytes or so, 13.35 gigabytes on the iPhone 16 Pro. It was up to 20 gigabytes on some of the other devices here. However, some people saw it download and install so fast, I don't really think this update size is accurate, but let me know your experience. Now, along with this, Apple also released macOS 26.5.1, but that seems to be available to all macOS Tahoe supported devices. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. You can find that by going into your settings, going to General, Software Update, tapping on More Details, and then tapping the version number. As you can see, the build number is 23F81, and this particular update does not have a modem update if you're coming from iOS 26.5 to iOS 26.5.1, but it does address a very important concern that was affecting many users. If we take a look at what Apple says, this update addresses an issue for a small number of users that may prevent wired charging on iPhone Air and iPhone 17 models when the battery is nearly drained. This is an issue I heard of from many of you, where you were having this issue if you let your phone completely go to where it shuts off on its own, or just down to a low state of charge, you wouldn't be able to charge it using USB-C. So for whatever reason, it wasn't working for some of you. The only way to get this to work was to do either a hard reset, a DFU mode, so put this in DFU mode, or maybe use wireless charging, which that seems to resolve the issue every time. So wireless charging was fixing it, but again, this is no longer a concern. So if you run out of battery, you'll be able to charge it just like normal, and that's been resolved for now. As far as other things they've resolved, well, they haven't mentioned anything else, but the wallpaper bug does seem to be fixed. Hopefully we can stop mentioning this. You'll see it's nice and vibrant, swipe home, and it stays vibrant. There might be a slight change, but then it sort of gets vibrant again. I'm seeing this across the board with all of the iPhones, so hopefully it's fixed for you, and let me know in the comments. As far as stuttering, it seems to be much better, so if we lock the display, unlock it, swipe up and scroll, or go back and forth from page to page, it seems like it's much better this time around. As far as the widget bug, let's see if that's resolved, and what that was is if we add a widget maybe for the weather, what you need to do is press and hold with this widget, tap away from it, tap the dots at the bottom, and now it's working properly. Let me try it on one other phone here and see if it's resolved there as well. So again, on the 17 Pro Max, tap on the widget, tap off, tap the dots at the bottom, and it still resprings. So it seems to be hit or miss depending on the device. I'm able to replicate it on the iPhone 17 Pro Max though, but not the 17 Pro. As far as the stuttering on both devices, it seems like it's definitely fixed. If we lock both, unlock them, swipe over, it seems like it's nice and fast. It's definitely an improvement. Now, whether or not this stays improved over the next few days or weeks, we won't really know until we test it out. But of course, we'll address that and talk about it in the weekend follow-up video. Apple CarPlay connectivity has been an ongoing issue. It was great at first with iOS 26.5, and then after a week or so, I started to get disconnects regularly again. The only way to connect it sometimes is turn off Wi-Fi, turn it back on. It will then disconnect, reconnect, and work properly. I've been having this ongoing with iOS 26.5, and again, we won't know for a few days if it's fixed for iOS 26.5.1 or at least a couple weeks, but let me know your experience so far in the comments. When it comes to security updates, if we take a look at Apple's security release website and scroll down, you'll see iOS 26.5.1 for iPhone 17 all models and iPhone Air, as well as macOS Tahoe 26.5.1. It says this update has no published CVE entries. That doesn't mean that they haven't updated anything to do with security. However, they're just not publishing it at this time, and they may update it in the future. They recently did that for some of the older updates as well, but at this point, it seems more like it's a bug fix and addresses that charging issue specifically, and as far as anything else, they haven't mentioned anything. But it does seem like they've fixed a few things with smoothness like I mentioned before. As far as any other updates today, well, Apple is really pushing WWDC 2026. You can see it here where they posted this today. Greg Joswiak posted this on X, and you can also see here it says all systems glow, and we have a new logo as well. So it says WWDC 26 is just 1 week away. Get ready for 5 days of technology, creativity, and community, all online and free. Also, they posted a new video about getting ready for WWDC 26. They posted this on their YouTube channel as well for developers, and also posted a placeholder for the event. So if you want to watch the keynote, you can see it here where it's June 8th and it's scheduled for 1 p.m. Eastern time, or this will be adjusted for your location where you live. So all of that's available along with some new wallpaper to go along with that WWDC invite. And you can see the wallpaper here where I'll link it in the description below, but it says glow all out and it's for WWDC. As far as future releases, well, iOS 26.6 Beta 2 could be as soon as tomorrow or maybe Wednesday. However, Apple could push this off a week or two, given that WWDC is just in a week or so. And then, of course, on June 8th, after the keynote, we'll typically see iOS 27 Beta 1 for the first time and see all of the features and everything there. I would expect iOS 26.6 betas to be out probably through June and early July, or it would release to the public sometime in early July. And then, of course, we'll have iOS 26.7 possibly, and then iOS 27 betas throughout the summer, releasing in September, typically around the iPhone 18 launch. If you're wondering if you should install iOS 26.5.1, well, if you're on an iPhone 17, 17e, 17 Pro, 17 Pro Max, or iPhone Air, absolutely. Hopefully they'll push it out to everyone a little bit later just to make everything consistent across all phones. But at this point, it's only for those devices. But definitely I would recommend it at this point as it addresses that charging issue and seems to be a lot smoother, at least so far. As I mentioned before, smoothness is nice and fast. ProMotion is nice and smooth. I've really seen no issues whatsoever, at least for now. So it does seem to resolve some issues, but not everything. And of course, we'll talk about it in the weekend follow-up. When it comes to overall heat, well, of course, we just installed an update. However, if it really was 13 to 20 gigabytes, I would think it would be a little bit more taxing. So far, the phones are quite cool to the touch, no real issues here. Let's go ahead and run benchmarks and then see what they're like as far as their thermals. If we take a look at iOS 26.5.1 on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, at the hottest point, we're right around 34 degrees Celsius. This is very similar to what we had before with iOS 26.4.1, but a little bit better. Benchmarks completed, and we have really great scores so far. 3,874 for single core, 10,020 for multi-core. So definitely up there with the best, and again, that's reflected in its overall smoothness. If we take a look at battery on my main phone, of course, this will take a few days to measure. We'll go into settings, battery health, and I'm currently at 100% capacity with 96 cycles. Now, of course, it takes a few days to know how battery is going, but if we go back to what I was doing with iOS 26.5, you'll see I had 4 hours and 14 minutes of screen active time, 4 hours and 48 minutes of screen idle time, and used 55% of the battery. Just today, so far, we're at 2 hours and 10 minutes of screen active time on the latest version, and of course, we're only using 30%. So it seems to be okay, but hopefully we see a big improvement with iOS 26.5.1, and again, we'll talk about that in the weekend follow-up video. When it comes to overall storage, let's go ahead and take a look at that. We'll go into settings, general, and then iPhone storage. Wait for it to load. If we scroll to the bottom here, you'll see iOS is taking up 21.95 gigabytes. That's pretty reasonable. iOS is 14.24 gigabytes, Apple Intelligence is 7.71 gigabytes. The update overwrites the older storage, and we're not using up additional storage, so no real issues there. And as far as system data, well, we're only using 1.07 gigabyte. This can go way up to 60 gigabytes or more, and then come back down. It just depends on what it's doing in the background. But so far, this looks pretty great. So that's everything with iOS 26.5.1. Not a huge update, but a crucial bug fix for the iPhone 17 series and iPhone Air. So let me know how it's going for you, and hopefully we see vast improvements and hopefully a release to other devices soon. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.